the program here. Okay, so here we are. We're going to start with Tatiana and using resources wisely online. Very, very exciting. Then Masha Andreevich is going to tell us about developing learning skills online. Then it's going to be Sandy's turn. And after that, we're going to take a little break. We had suggestions in the past, maybe we should take a break for extra cup of coffee or tea. So we are going to do it. And after the break, Irina has brought some more exciting tools to show us in a session, a superpower of Mr. PowerPoint. Vita has brought a new tool as well, and she's going to tell us all about it. I'm not going to say anything. Let it remain just as it's a gimmick for now. And then I will be running the final session. Look and say visual support and language production or something like that. There is an official name. I didn't change it here, so much better. Lovely. And then of course questions and answers like this. What is wrong today? We have 87 people who have signed up. Some of them won't be able to attend, but they want to get the recording. Yes, that will be possible. I don't know if anyone has any questions at the moment. Perhaps, no. I know that, there was something in the chat. Okay. Thank you for the break. Yes, Irina. Okay, Sandy. So Sandy has put in the chat box that she's going to talk about word cloud. So see, 6 exciting topics. So I'm hoping for a lovely afternoon with all of you here. We have 3 minutes left, but we are going to wait, Tatiana, if you don't mind, so that we start on time because people are coming to your sessions directly. And yes, thank you. Anything else that I have to go through?
I think we're good.
So someone can volunteer to sing a song now, or suggest a song.
Well, perhaps I can show you how I adapted one of Leo Sullivan's activity to use with my teens online. So like
you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. It's gonna be brief, okay? So because I hate those pauses and breaks. So,
I suggested a song. That's fine.
Okay. Song is great. Next time, okay? Like karaoke. So basically, the idea was for my students to revise the chunks from Gateway, B2+, and I used the cards tool in Miro. And what's great about this tool is that it's like double-sided. So basically, you can hide something and then you can open it like that. And I have several cards here, and then I have everybody's name, and everybody got different chunks. And then my students got some time to work on their chunks and to come up with different sentences. And then when they were ready, we put the sentences into a separate frame like that. Like I was trying to his mistake, and everybody could be in control of their own chunk. So basically I said, okay, whose sentences are this? They're yours, Amalia. Great, you are in control. Go ahead, you're the teacher. And surprisingly, it went really well. So everybody was engaged. Everybody came up with some good examples. Some of them use this resource here, which I posted, sentencedictionary.com. It's basically a great dictionary which doesn't give you a definition, but it gives you lots of examples. It's like a student-friendly national corpus or something like that. So I got this idea from Leo Sullivan's chunks on the chair activity. Use it like that online, and it went well. So I mean, yep, that's it.
Okay. Perfect. Well done. 120 seconds. Fantastic. So now we are ready for Tatiana. Tatiana, over to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Is everything fine?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for giving a chance for my talk, because I believe my topic is important. But first of all, before we get started, I would like to congratulate you on finishing this extremely terribly difficult academic year. You are coming through it, you are going over it, so you're great, you are doing well anyway. And let's get started. So by using internet resources wisely, I generally meant using online games wisely. And what I'd like to draw your attention to is using online games in your lessons. First, we will go to some reasons why teachers use online games in their lessons. Then we will come to a plan, a detailed plan, how to make them more effective and more efficient. And then I'm going to show you 5 games my students adore, which we have tried and appreciated. Before we get started, can you please type in the chat and try to continue the sentence? I use online games in my lessons too. Can you continue? I'll try to see the chat. I hope I will be able to see it. Uh-oh, wait a second. We don't need you here. I don't know why, but I don't see the chat.
That sometimes happens when you're on screen share. If you stop the share, get the chat up, and then, and then share again.
Great.
Doesn't always work, but sometimes that works.
Thank you. Yeah. Provide. Thank you. Motivate. Language practice. Great. Lessons more interesting. Generally interesting. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Let's come back to my presentation. And what I did before I came to you was asking the teachers I'm working with. It's about 30 teachers, and these are responses they gave to the question of why they use games in their lessons, which is absolutely fine. But what I'd like to do today together is to have a look at it closer and to find some particular reasons to use them, to make them more efficient and to make them work for your lesson aims. We definitely have to work on positive experience of online learning. I absolutely agree that games encourage our students, they motivate, they give extra opportunities for language practice, and they let your students speak, but there are some extra ones, and these are the extra twos which I would stick to. We definitely can use online games to substitute missing elements in your lessons. For example, if you are using board games in your offline lessons, definitely here board games online will be helpful as well. The question is only how to organize it better and more effective. Then what about substituting some missing routines? In my classroom with very young learners, we do a lot of routines. For example, if a student has a birthday, we usually celebrate it. I'm sure lots of you do the same, so I will show you the way I did it online. Then you might celebrate finishing a course. For example, to end up a course, you have to just a second. To end up a course, we need some extra online games, and they definitely encourage our students. And what I'm mostly focused on is extra language practice and speaking opportunities that we can provide for our students using some particular online games. But there is a danger here. Let's try to avoid games for games approach. By games for games approach, I'm sure you understand what I mean. I mean gamification only for the sake of getting our students' attention. And there is a danger here that our students always will be expecting us to give them a lot of wow effects and to turn our lesson into a circus show or into a performance. In order to avoid it, we have to be focused on our lesson aims, definitely. And what I'm offering you today is to have a look at the plan. So what easy steps that might be done in order to avoid such a situation. For example, let's stick to our lesson aims. It's quite easy to ask yourself a question. What will your students will be able to do after your classes? How will you achieve those goals using online games? Will they really help you achieve them? And do your students need extra games to achieve their goals? That's my question to think over. The next step, which I'm offering you, is just to have a look at your lesson parts. It doesn't matter what kind of approach you are using for your lesson, PPP, TTT, TBL, PBL, whatever. It doesn't matter, but it matters that we have a look at our lesson parts and see if we need more language practice, if we need more routines, if our students really need more encouragement to let them speak. What about the resources we have? You are definitely using a course book, and a lot of course books provide quite good materials for online practice. Do your course books and workbooks provide enough practice? Can you be happy with that? Or do you need something extra as online games? The next step, which I would offer you, is thinking of your kids. So definitely there are a lot of experts and a lot of people who know a lot about kids, but you know your kids the best. So the first thing to be done here is just to stick to your group portrait and to have a look at your students' personalities. Think of their own peculiarities. You are absolutely well familiar with them. So what questions can we ask ourselves? Do games help my students keep focused? So does it really work this way with my students? Because I know quite a few students who get distracted after online games. I know some teachers who use online games and then they get some problems with their lesson structure, with getting attention, and so on and so forth. So does it work for your classroom in such a way? So is it difficult for your students to keep focused while playing, and how does it happen? So do games really help you achieve your goals, and how does it work? And what do students feel while playing? The last question is my favorite. We're really focused and concentrated on our students, but we're not really concentrating on ourselves. So if you don't feel like playing this game, and if you don't really love it, and if you don't understand why it is there in your lesson, never touch it, please. So don't forget to ask yourself if you like this particular game and if you enjoy playing it. And one of the most powerful things here to be done is definitely a teaching diary, especially if you've started teaching online kids recently. The great idea is just to fill in your teaching diary after each particular class and write there different things: how you felt, how your students felt, how it worked in your lesson, and anything else that you wanted to script. The next step is to think of organization of your game. So what will happen while playing? So how will you organize the game? Will it be there in Google Docs, for example? Do you usually send the links in Google Docs, or are you going to share the screen? Will your students be able to use remote control? If one of the students is using the remote control, what the other students are going to do? What will the students say while playing? And that is my favorite one, because I always want some extra speaking practice. Now let's come up to some particular games, which I'm going to show you. One of the games which I've already mentioned was a game with a cake, which substituted our routine for celebrating a birthday party. It's an online game. I'll show you all the games, so you will be able to use the links if you need it. The next game is about target language and is about extra speaking practice. We were focused here on clothes, rooms and furniture, and letting students speak. The next idea is a will decide resource, which you definitely know and you're familiar with. What I like here the most is that you can create a link and leave this sample there and use it with all the groups you want. So I'm going to share this with you. And then there is a wonderful resource which I adore, which is called WaterAid Games. It's all about water games, washing hands, watching videos connected with this, and playing games. Now I'm going to show you the way it works in practice. And there are different aims that you can achieve while playing these games. Besides, there is a game for production in the famous resource, which is Sesame Street, which you definitely know. I'll show you the way it worked with me. And here, the last slide of my presentation are more resources here that you might use. I'm sure you use all of them, but probably you are not familiar with the site Ducky Duck, which is a great resource for playing different kind of games. And now I'm going to show you the way it works and the way it worked in my classroom. For example, the game I used for production with my students from Sesame Street was the following.
Hi there, welcome to Sesame Street.
So we'll, go over it. And here is the tutorial.
Okay, here's the ticket that tells you what the order needs. Looks like this order needs onions and tomatoes. Click the onions and tomatoes.
So that's what you have to do.
Then when the... Great job, chef. I think you're ready for the lunch rush.
And you can play a restaurant game.
Order up. You've got to fill 3 orders before time runs out. This order needs tomatoes.
They have to...
Go ahead, click on the ingredient to add it to the plate. Then when the order is ready, click the bell. Wow, you're fast!
So don't forget here to add some speaking practice. I will switch it off because it can't stop speaking. And there is another site I love. This is for target language. If you practice rooms and furniture, you can use this particular kind of game where students have to design their own rooms. They can choose carpets, tables, and discuss all these things together in pairs. For example, asking each other, is there a table in your room? Or let's find a table for our room. Would you like to have a table? Would you like to have such a carpet or another kind of carpet? Besides, here we have to keep our students occupied, and the other kids might continue working with their pictures, so might be drawing at the same time. What I like here else is clothes game. So you can click here and change items of clothes and describe what the girl is wearing. And you can also practice put on and imperatives, for example, items of clothes. Besides, as the will decide resource, you definitely know what can be done here. What I like working, the way I work with this resource mostly is letting students work in pairs. For example, they make up questions. One person makes up a question, the other person gives the answer, and then they swap places. If we talk about very young learners, then we can just ask students to bring something of the color that is here. And lately, we've been playing with comparatives and superlatives. For example, they have to bring 3 objects of a blue color, and then we're going to all together compare them, find the smallest, the biggest, and so on. One more game which I wanted to show you was the game with cakes for birthday party. So, because usually my students are really missing birthday celebrations, and my student had a birthday, so we made it this way. We chose the cake base, then we used the candles. Here they could do it themselves, and so she was 4, we had 4 candles. Then you can decorate it, let them decorate it, and just use candles, and then they had to blow the candles, and so it worked this way. And you can also save the picture here and send it to everyone, so they will have it, they will keep it as a memory, and that's what they really loved. And this is the site about water I've been talking about. There are 3 options you can do here. The first one is a video, which is very nice and authentic.
Wash your hands.
I'll show you.
Let's find out how to wash hands and get them super clean. First, put soap in one hand.
What I like here is that you can have a break. Yeah, you can stop the video, and then you can practice the same thing with kids, either in the bathroom or in front of their laptop. So let's put some soap in our hands. So that's what we did. And then comment on what is happening. What are you doing? I'm putting soap in my hand, and so on and so forth. After that, you are able to put the pictures in the correct order. And one more game, which
Find germs.
I like even more.
There are lots of germs hiding in my house. Do you want to help me find them? They are very tiny, so use the
Yeah, here the idea is that you have to find germs. I let my students use remote control, and they take this glass, and they have to find germs. Come on, let me use the glass. It doesn't want me to use the glass. So anyway, you just click the glass and you find germs. You find germs, and then you, besides, are able to revise the vocabulary, because I used this resource where after studying...
You're doing great!
After studying rooms and furniture. So you here, while walking around and while looking for germs, you can revise the vocabulary. You can talk about the places.
Look carefully.
So after finding the germ, you can
You're
ask
doing
the
great.
student, where was the germ?
Tooth.
So, and that's what they really love doing. Besides, they can memorize places, objects.
Look carefully.
Whatever you like. My students usually say, what are you doing? I'm looking for germs. Where was this germ? This germ was on the sofa. And the last thing is a board game. I'm sure you know a lot of them. And the site here is eslgamesplus.com, where you just let them throw the dice and answer the question. So
choose the correct answer.
You can play it this way. And the last thing that I wanted to show you is that the lesson, the way it works in my practice, my video is not only about using resources wisely, it's just what happens in my lesson. So enjoy it. And oh, hello, who's here? Who's this?
It's Foxy.
It's a Foxy, right. Can you ask the Foxy, please?
How old are you?
I'm 5, please.
What does your mommy like doing?
My mom likes watching TV and reading books.
Hello, hello. Can you clap your hands?
Clap your hands.
Yeah, what did you do?
I clapped my hands.
Very well. Dasha, Christina, Ksyusha, what did you do? Very well. Thank you very much.
Got every 3 purple pencils.
Great. Ksyushenka, which is the smallest?
This pencil is smallest.
This is the smallest. Great. Very well. Christine, which is the smallest?
It's purple.
Yeah, the purple cupboard
Smallest.
is the smallest. Very well. Perfect.
I go to college. My living room. Pink.
Pink. Great. Anya, what about you? Anya, living room. I'm going to color my living room
Green.
green. Okay.
I colored it. Living room. Black.
Black. Okay, perfect. Now I've got some prizes for you. Who is the first? Ksusha is the first. What prize would you like? Do you need my help?
Would like a big brown dog.
A bigger, Ksush, a big. Do you need my help, Ksush?
Yes.
Okay, a bigger brown dog. This one?
Yes.
Okay, it goes to you. Okay, Ignat, you're the next.
I
Would like, Ignat.
like a white and black dog. Smile.
Everyone stand up, please, and let's say goodbye and hug yourself.
Goodbye.
Hug yourself. And oh, that's enough. Thank you very much. Now I think I'm going to stop my presentation because there are questions which I didn't see. Can we have the link in the chat? I think we can. I can just send the presentation. So, which is better for you? Do you give your students the link? No, I don't give my students the link. I just share my screen and let them use the remote control in Zoom. They get the remote control in Zoom. Links are better, but it depends. It depends on what you're going to do. For example, with this game with the cake, we just didn't need everyone to have it. If you're going to play it in pairs, like the We'll Decide game, I definitely send it beforehand. So, do you have any other questions? Yeah, if you do need it, you can definitely send it. Do you have any questions? Thank you. So if you don't have any questions, thank you very much for listening and enjoy your teaching.
Thank you very much, Tatiana, for joining us here. And this is something that I've been thinking about as well, how not to let the tricks and the tools take over whatever we are doing in the classroom. So thank you very much for raising this point and coming here to share it with us, and also for all the wonderful ideas. I've been taking notes and I'll be looking at those as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Vita, another 2-minute activity? If not, I can show something as well, because we have a few minutes before Masha is on. So I'm going to show you how, where's my Miro? Okay, this is something. We're going to move away for a moment. An activity that takes, oh wait, you can time me. We'll see how much time it's going to take me to prepare. So I love playing noughts and crosses. Maybe this is nothing new, but playing noughts and crosses is definitely one of my favorite activities. And even with some people who are present here, we're planning to run a whole workshop on noughts and crosses in the classroom. This idea is still on. Wait. But very often we play it with my kids to practice different things. So with my Superminds one, what we were doing? Okay, let's Google people in the park. We are doing present continuous now. So basically, you need to Google people in the park, for example. Let's see, this one is good. Okay. It's going to appear here. Come on. Okay, it's fine. So we Google a picture, basically. Okay. The one thing that I'm missing in Miro is a ruler, because I can never draw normal lines. But okay. Okay. Something like this. And the first few times we were playing it, I had to add the numbers so that they could actually tell me which box they want to have. And it was also before they learned how to operate Zoom and the option of annotating. But it's still, well, so how much time it took? 15 seconds probably. And then we're playing basically. It's just instead of just putting a note or a cross, they have to describe this box that they have chosen, and we have used it to practice different things. There are of course present continuous now, because we are practicing present continuous with year one. It can be prepositions, it can be colors, It can be I can see, very, very generic, but it can be also more complex structures. And if you have a group, a bigger group, then of course they are going to play in teams, and each person in team has to make a sentence about their box. These are not very exciting, as you can see, the bottom ones, but the trick here is to divide the picture in a clever way. So for example, when we have, I don't know, let's, okay, there is another picture. Okay, like this. This is much better. Actually, it's going to stay here for tomorrow. Oh. So then sometimes when we are, when we are doing it and when I'm preparing the grid, then the boxes are not, well, they are not nice and even anyway. But for example, here I might go like this and like this, for example, whereas these boxes could be like this, just to make sure that there is enough for the kids to describe in their boxes. And they are not even anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But a nice activity. And after a while, they learn which box is which number. So even for the youngest students, if you pre-primary, if you don't want to give them the control of the screen, then it doesn't matter. They can give you the number and they just play. Or if they can control the screen, then so much better. Okay, that's it. Fantastic. Questions? Yes. In Miro, yes, I have, for example, with some of the when I was practicing with my juniors, we were preparing. They are prepared course book, but we were playing, for example, past tense, regular and irregular verbs. And basically, I have a lot of those post-it notes with verbs. So I'm basically keep copying and pasting them and arranging them in kind of like grids of 9. And you can color code them. So for example, last time we played all the irregular verbs were blue and all the regular pink, or the other way around. So they already knew what they should be thinking about a little bit. So yeah, very, very easy. And you can copy and paste. Okay. Cool. Cool. Yes. Lovely. Ah, yes. Vita. Yes. Vita. Would you like to say something about your public Miro board, please?
Basically, there is a board open to everybody, which already has like over 15 or 20 games, like templates with explanations done to the best of my ability. I'm sorry, we all pressed for time here. And if you want the link, I'm willing to share. I share it with everybody. Like at the moment, over 50 people, I think, are using the board, and the feedback was mostly positive. And I will be adding more games, especially after the 1st of June, because I will have more time then. So stay tuned. I can share the link now in the chat, and it would be my pleasure to help you. So, okay.
Okay. And our next presenter is Masha, who is here already. We are also very, very happy to have her here with us today. And we're very happy that she has agreed to join us today with another fantastic presentation. Okay, Masha, hello. Can you please introduce yourself to everybody who doesn't know you yet? And then you can go on with your presentation.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Anka, thank you so much. And Vita, thank you so much for inviting me and for having me here today. My name is Masha Andrievich, and I work for Nova Škola, New School, which is a rather big private general education school in Moscow. I teach English in mostly primary, but also work with, older teenagers. And something I'd like to share today is a couple of ideas about developing online or just learning skills with young learners and also teenagers. Let me just share the presentation and we'll start. Here we go. Right. So for me, one of the biggest surprises or discoveries of this whole distant learning thing was how autonomous actually our young students turned out to be. And I was really surprised by how confident even very young kids, like first graders, got in just maybe a week or two of using Zoom and all those things that we at school use for lessons. So they got really confident with Zoom and Miro board and Google Classroom. And so looking at that, I was asking myself, like, what else can we do? They are actually capable of so many things, it turns out. Surprise, surprise. What else can I like help students to do on their own, maybe outside of class, to enhance their learning? So a couple of things that I discovered and that we started doing with either my groups or just as a school were the following. First of all, we started using Google Classroom to upload homeworks for kids. And it turned out to be super effective because before that, we actually still have sort of a school LMS thing, which is a system which is very similar to what I guess many schools in Russia have, like an online thing where you can upload homeworks and track students' success and give marks and even message parents. But the Google Classroom makes it super easy for kids to leave comments. And these are the comments my first graders are leaving, asking for like the specific page or whether they have all the, like whether the audio is correct for the exercise. And this was like super surprising because these are like 6 or 7 year olds and they're like typing up questions about homeworks and they're helping each other. So in terms of students taking control of their learning and actually being able to ask questions or comment on things and check if they have the right page or ask for clarification, this was amazing. And this clearly did not happen before when we had our school system. So for me, Google Classroom turned out to be super effective in that respect. It's also very easy for a teacher, I think, to use. The only thing that students need is Google as a Gmail account. So because everything is connected into like one environment with like email account and Google Classroom, but that's pretty easy to set up. And that was actually a fun thing to do for most of the kids. And then it helps a lot with homeworks, and kids like helped each other a lot by explaining how to do things, commenting onto different tasks. The next thing that we started doing more of in this whole online situation was, in addition to Quizlet, which I'm sure like everyone uses, because kids I teach mostly are primary kids, it was also nice to have something to play with, I mean, something physical. So we started doing more lexical notebooks, and this started as a like as a craft that we did once. And then because this craft is so easy, like kids produced, I think, tons of these little notebooks. They're super easy. That's the video from a YouTube channel called Red Ted Art. This is like, super amazing. Surely, again, everyone knows about it. This craft, however, turned out to be like super success. And it's something that anyone can make from just one piece of paper. It's a notebook with like quite a lot of pages. And so we started really working with lexical notebooks more, and kids would put their little pictures on one side and then words in English on the other. And then we practiced learning these words by like covering the word and then remembering the word from the picture, or covering the picture, reading the word and trying to remember what it means. So in addition to Quizlet, this could be really fun for maybe slightly younger kids to cut down on like screen time. However, Quizlet is also great fun for like second graders, third graders who it looks like now are much more confident with it. And when we actually got into the habit of using those lexical notebooks, and kids got into the habit of like revising words regularly with them, one more thing that we tried was something that I see lots of people doing, like on Instagram or wherever. This is a checklist or a habit tracker. And generally people use it to track beautiful habits like drinking water in the morning or like working out, you know. And then what I see lots of my like language learning friends doing is actually tracking the aspects of learning that they want to focus on or they like want to bring into their routine. So we tried this with like fourth graders first. These are kids of about like 11 years old, and then tried similar things with younger kids. And this also, I think, is a great learning tool because it helps children, again, take control of their own learning, to actually notice that they are learning, and to try doing this on a regular basis and try doing different things. So the first thing is from a Russian website, which is called 365down.ru. Surely anyone can use it, though. They don't have an English version, I'm afraid, but that's super easy to navigate. And there you can build your own habit tracker. And these are things that, like you can choose how many days you want to have. This is a monthly habit tracker, but you can try, like we started with like 7 days. And also, surely for like younger kids, you can just, I don't know, like focus on 2 habits. This is for teenagers, so they like wanted to experiment a bit more. And the first tracker here is about like, what do you do outside of class? And here is like homeworks, apparently, Quizlet, a video in English. We usually like use a lot of ed.com. It's a really great website for like home assignments or like extensive listening sort of thing, because there are no ads, and basically the content is like super predictable. It's all like mostly subject based, and really nice to use for like younger teens. And then when kids use Quizlet to revise words, I also like sometimes ask them to write a couple of sentences with new words about themselves. And so like they do things, they mark them on these trackers, and then it's super fun to compare things together in class. And again, by the end of a certain period, even if it's just a week, it's super enjoyable to see even 3 like dots crossed out, and it feels like kids really like have this sense of achievement or something like that. This is a very similar habit tracker. This one focuses on like one goal, and I think again this can be used with like even if kids are trying to fix the like homework situation, which they maybe like don't do too regularly. And again, this is a nice thing to visualize the habit and to just coloring the like hexagons, I guess, that mean that like they did homework on this day. And for maybe older kids, there is an app for the phone. I've tried several ones, but like this one, it's called Habit. It seems to be the best because the like the navigation is very easy. Again, it doesn't have any ads popping up. It's free and it's like colorful. It's easy to use. It's in English. So we used it again with like some of the 4th graders, and some of them seem to be like quite happy with it. So that's probably my 3rd thing. There is, I guess, yeah, the last thing that I wanted to to talk about is actually training students to use dictionaries as an app, which generally is a useful skill, and we did a bit of that before, but again now it feels that kids have to do, at least at our school, it feels that kids have to do a bit more on their own. And so I was looking for ways to support them with that, and Yandex Translate turned out to be fantastic because, again, there are no ads. It's super straightforward, and again, kids can hear the words that they are translating from like English into Russian. So if there is a new word in a text they're reading, they can like type it in, they can listen to it, like practice to pronounce it a couple of times and like check the translation. And then there is a whole set of sort of micro skills that we practice. So when kids get maybe some reading homework, they would look up the word, and we talk about how there is this like listening option included, and we practice to do that. And then we talk about like labeling the word in the text, like writing it down, and then putting it into the lexical notebook. And by, I don't know, like the second or the third week of using a dictionary app, it looks like what kids do with reading is much more consistent and is much more meaningful. So this also turned out to be quite useful. Basically, these are the 4 small things I wanted to share. Again, there is this super simple dictionary app, checklist to track learning or an aspect of it, lexical notebooks, can make them as a craft thing and then continue in all sorts of forms and formats, and well, using Google Classroom to upload tasks and to manage this whole like distance learning. That's pretty much it, and let me check if there are any questions.
Okay, yes, please, question time. People, just type up in the chat.
Okay. Okay.
How young were the youngest students with whom you used the dictionary?
The dictionary is with I think like 6-7-year-olds.
Okay.
It's just that I think very often they want to, like when they're doing some homework, or especially if there is maybe writing involved and they write about themselves, there are lots of things that kids want to like write.
Yeah.
And in the lesson they was like, what's this in English? What's this in English? Because they have so many cool ideas. And then with the monolingual dictionary, it sort of gives them the opportunity to at least try putting all those things together in a written sentence. So
absolutely, great idea. Okay.
Right, there is a question. Okay. Parents and homework. Well, at the school I'm working for, we don't usually give much homework during the like working week, because there is a big idea about like teaching children to manage their own learning, and they actually during the day have a special chunk of time when they on their own sit down to do their homeworks. So with that in mind, if every teacher gives a lot of homework, they won't really manage to do it in that piece of time. So we usually, like, I would usually assign something like a couple of tasks from an activity book, or maybe a short writing. And for the weekend, there is maybe like reading a story or working with a video or something like that. So a bit more stuff for the weekend and slightly less homework during the working week. And there is always, I think, pretty much always Quizlet involved, and like some sort of like lexical revision. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much for the ideas and for inspiration. Thank you. Okay. 5 minutes. Fantastic. I'm just thinking what else to show you in between, since we have a few minutes before we go. I can
give you a sneaky other idea that I was originally thinking of.
Okay, let's go.
And then realised it would only take 2 minutes.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, so I've realised I think a lot of you are talking about teaching young learners. Like the only classes that I'm teaching at the moment are elementary teenagers. Last week we were doing, I've forgotten the language point now. I was introducing have to them, have to and don't have to. And the context that we chose was connected to films. So I chose A Day in the Life of The Rock. Okay, so what does The Rock do? If anybody's read my blog, you've already seen this on there. But and I got the students to write questions about, like, do you have to eat breakfast? Do you have to remember the script? Whatever. But instead of them just guessing the answers, I changed my profile picture to The Rock. I changed my name on Zoom from Sandy Millen to The Rock. And I downloaded something called voicemod.com. Which modulated my voice. Now you can't choose, unless you pay, you can't choose what your voice is. But and it's random each day. So I picked whatever seemed like the most rock-like voice that was in there. But so the students were then asking me questions, but when I was answering, it came like, it didn't sound like me, it didn't look like me, and it didn't have the name, it didn't have my name. So they were super excited. And at the beginning, when they first started, they were like, is that Sandy? It's Sandy. It's not Sandy. Is that Sandy? I'm not really sure. And one of them even went on Wikipedia to try and catch me out by asking me things like, how old are you? Where do you live? But they got super into that idea. So I think if you want to bring other characters or other people into your lessons, you can do it yourself. You don't need to find another person who is available at that time. So yeah, it worked brilliantly. The voice mod idea was suggested by my colleague Connor, and he's also been using it for drilling with his kids. And he said that, for example, he will put on like a policeman's voice, or like an alien's voice, or a robot's voice, or something. And so then the kids are trying to copy what he sounds like. And he said the parents are in the background, like killing themselves laughing, while their kids are trying to be like aliens or robots or policemen, like imitating his voice. So yeah, so thank you, Connor, for that.
Yeah, that's a lovely idea. Thank you very much for sharing.
The length of that is why I decided that that's not what I was presenting today.
Also, we got one extra idea.
Exactly, bonus.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, I wanted to show you something else. Again, this is a resource that I found thanks to Justina. I think Justina Mikulak from IH San Sebastian. This is not a free resource, but you can sign up for the trial, and the trial lasts a week, and you can produce different things. And of course, the idea is that you will get hooked up over this week, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to pay for this as well. But this is something that I took so much pleasure from doing, and I thought, oh, well, fine. It's called Storybird. I'll show you. And it basically, there are things that you can already use by other people, other stories, but you are allowed to write your own stories. There is a huge pool of illustrations created by inspiring authors. So you basically pick up from whatever you want to do, and you put together a story that you want to have. So this is how the day the apples got boring for my students. And the advantage is that, well, then you can read it, of course, you can flip through books. It's about Amati, the hedgehog. And you can put in it the language that you want you want your students to produce. With my primary students now, we are actually reading the books. They take more pleasure in reading with me rather than listening to what I have to say. But that's good, because they should be developing their reading and writing skills. So they really want to participate. So of course you can find books that you can read with your students, but it's also, I found it really, really a nice solution or a nice supplement to put together the stories that I want them to read in the language that I know they will be able to handle almost, right? And then basically you can also print those books. This is absolutely exciting. You can download them and print them, and they already come in the format of a proper book. So page 1 has page 2 on the back already when you print it. You cannot really share it easily with your students. I was experimenting on Friday with friends. I was trying to share this one with kids to set it as homework, but it doesn't really work like that. You have to create a classroom, and then there are other costs involved. But I'm going to download it, and I'm going to write, for example, as a present for my students at the end of the year. There will be a story with all their names in it, and I'm going to share it with parents, for the parents to print it at home if they want to. We're going to read it in class first as well. So if you want to experiment, you can just sign up for the trial. But I want to warn you, it might be dangerous because you might want to keep it. Lovely. Okay, that's me. And now, Sandy, over to you. Thank you very much for agreeing to present here as well. And we are all really excited about you being here.
Thank you, Anka. Thank you for asking me. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know me, I have a blog, which is where some of you might know my name from, and I'm the Director of Studies at International House Bydgoszcz, which is in Poland, so I am far away from you. It's 5 p.m. for me, a little bit earlier. Yeah, and because I'm a DOS, I don't teach very much at the moment. As I said, I'm teaching like elementary teens, but I want to share a couple of activities that I've done with them and with word clouds, and I want to show you how you can make your own word clouds and like maybe share some things that you could do with them or that you could try with them. So hopefully this will all work, and hopefully my internet won't die. It has done that a couple of times today, so we'll see how it does. Okay, so right now you can see a word cloud. This is an example with lots of adjectives in it. We were also recently doing comparatives and superlatives. And this is one that I actually made for our class. If you haven't seen word clouds before, basically you put your words into a generator, and the more often they appear, the bigger they are. The words here are all the same size because they each appeared once. And you can choose the layout of the word cloud. You can choose, you can make some words disappear, or you can change how big they are. You can make them all appear the same size, or as I just mentioned, if they appear more often, they can be bigger. And I'll show you how to do that afterwards. But first, I just wanted to get you guys doing the activity that I did with my students. So this was just a very simple grammar drill, or like, could they remember the form of the grammar? They had, at the beginning of the class, while the other students were arriving as a warmer, I had this displayed on the screen, and their challenge was to write as many adjective, comparative, superlative combinations into the chat box as possible. So I'm going to set that challenge for you right now. So, but I'm only going to give you about a minute. So look at the word cloud in the chat box, choose any adjective and write the adjective, the comparative, the superlative. Don't forget the for the superlative. Okay, ready, steady, go. You have 1 minute. Oh, Alex, don't forget the basic adjective as well. High, higher, the highest. Short, shorter, the shortest. Well done. Well done, Heather. Lots in one go. Anka, good save with your teeth. Okay, so stop, press enter on the one that you're sending, and then stop. Okay, so obviously for you guys, that's not that challenging. That's not that very hard for them. But when my students were making spelling mistakes, I would say, for example, okay, Tatiana, heaviest, how do you spell heaviest? And they would rewrite it. The one, this did show up a particular problem with one student who clearly hadn't understood the individual adjective meanings of them because of some of the words, because she produced my favourite one, which was this one. She'd got the grammar rule completely correct, but she hadn't fully grasped the meaning of the basic adjectives. So she gave me crowded sunny, more crowded sunny, the most crowded sunny. So this shows one of the pitfalls of word clouds is make sure that all of your words that are next to each other, thank you, are different colours so that they can clearly see. If you want them to do a task like that, if you want them to pick out individual words. Okay, so that's one idea of an activity with word clouds. Obviously, with that same word cloud, you could do all kinds of different things. They could come up with a story using as many of the adjectives as they can. They can go and find objects which match the adjectives and come back and describe them. What else could they do with that one? Yeah, they could make their own gap fills. They can define a word and the other people have to guess what it is. They can they could do simple things like if you're helping them to practice dictionary use, for example, they could take a list like that and put it into alphabetical order if you want them to practice like paper dictionaries or knowing how to find things in a dictionary. I know that might seem like an old-fashioned skill, but I think it's still useful for them to be able to do alphabetical order in different languages. Like I certainly found that when I was learning Russian, I still needed to know alphabetical order. Yes, so that's just a few simple activities you could do with that particular word cloud. How do you actually make a word cloud then? So let me share this. So my favorite tool to do this is wordclouds.com. I think this is the easiest one. There are lots of different tools available, but I think this one is the most kind of intuitive or the easiest one to use. When you come onto it, there's always an example word cloud, and that changes periodically, but it gives you ideas about what you could do, what kind of word clouds you could lay out. If you want to put your own content in there, you go File, and then, sorry, come on, brain. Sorry, my brain has completely stopped working. What am I looking for? It's not new word cloud. Yes, do I want to clear the word list? Oh, sorry, my brain stopped working. I can't find is it text file? It's all right, I don't usually use it on this computer as well, so sorry. Oh, my computer's given up. Just give me a second, sorry. Promise I know how to make these. It's not word list because that one, yeah, paste and type text, that's what I'm looking for, sorry. File, yeah, sorry. File, paste, type text. Just ignore my little brain fart there. So you can either write your words individually or you can copy and paste things into here. If you have a sentence and you want to keep the sentence together, you need to use the little tilde symbol, and that will keep it together. It won't show punctuation. If I put a couple of sentences in here, some with tildes and some without, you'll see what happens. So I can type content in there and produce a word cloud like this. Now, at the top it says 2 words not drawn. That's because those sentences, when I had I like chocolate, I like ice cream, they're too big for this template. So I need to take this little 0 slider at the top and I need to make it a bit smaller. And then, as you can see, it appears. And I can make it a lot smaller, and then everything will appear. Now, it hasn't put the word I on there because that counts that as a grammar word, and some grammar words it will ignore. So I can actually tell it that I want to add the word I on here. And the weight is how large it is. So because like appeared twice in my sentences, that's bigger on the word cloud. So I want to make the word I weight 2 as well, and press apply. And now that word appears. It puts my grammar word back. Okay, that's if you're going to do it manually. You can also copy and paste a text. So if I take the text about I.H. Bydgoszcz from the International House website, I can go, again, file, paste type text, and I can paste it in here. Now, it will automatically generate this. Words that appear more often will be bigger, but it will skip a lot of the grammar words like I mentioned just now. So I can press apply. And because it's a longer text, it's showing me the kind of background picture of that the word cloud is created in the shape of. Once I have a text like that, I can choose a shape. So you can see that this is in the shape of a hammer. For example, I can make it a circle. Now, the more words there are, the truer to the shape it will actually appear. So there, for example, you can see a very clear face because there are enough words that it can make it bigger and smaller. But you can also see there are some gaps in there because there aren't enough words to fill the shape completely. So choose your shape wisely, I would say. Well, for example, here's one in the shape of South America. You can change the colour themes. So I would recommend, if you're using it with students, pick something that has lots of different colours in it, because it makes it easier for them to read things. And you can also change the font. So there are, as you can see, lots and lots and lots of different fonts in here. And you can select them, like you can narrow them down. So for example, if I want a sans serif font, I don't want, like sans serif ones are the easiest ones to read generally. So I can pick Oxygen, select, and now, as you can see, that's changed my word cloud, so it's a lot easier to read. I can change the gaps between words, so that spaces it out much more. So I just change that from 2 to 10. If I change it to 20, it spaces it out even more. But 54 of my words aren't drawn now because I've made the gap size so big. I make the gap size smaller, 9 words not drawn, and a lot more of the words appear. And another thing I can change is the direction of the words. So at the moment they're random. I can make it incredibly random, and some of them are upside down and back to front. Or I can make it all very ordered. So for example, they're all horizontal. Once you've made the word cloud to your satisfaction, you can then save it as an image. I generally save it as a PNG, and then you can use it wherever you want. You can upload it wherever you want. So that's how you make your word clouds generally. And then in terms of ideas for using the word clouds, I've already shared a few of them. I will share this link with you afterwards. You'll get a bonus idea on here as well with Mentimeter, which is another tool. But here you go. There's a little list here of some ideas. For example, before you do some reading or listening, you put the text into the word cloud, and the students predict what they're going to see or hear, or afterwards, what did they see or hear. You can get them to find all the phrases in a word cloud. Remember the grammar forms, like we were just doing, the comparatives and superlatives. You can use it as a prompt for debates, so you can put some language into sorry, I'm hearing an echo. I don't know if somebody's got the microphone on. You can use it as a prompt for debates, so you can put for example, different viewpoints into the word cloud as a reminder for students. They can create their own word cloud, or they can use the story. They can use the words to make a story. They can ask you about the words they don't understand. So, for example, you could use it before you introduce a lexical set, and students could pick out 1 or 2 words to look up, maybe using the dictionary, like Masha suggested. If they complete a gap fill exercise where they have to create the forms, you could have the answers in the word cloud and the students see all the answers. And then as an extra challenge, they've got the answers in the word cloud. You get them to close their books or take away the exercise. They can see the answers. Now they have to recreate the sentences that they had before. I already mentioned defining the words. You could create a word cloud as you go through a lesson, and at the end of the lesson you generate the word cloud, and that helps the students maybe at the beginning of the following lesson, like what happened or what did we talk about. There are millions of ways that you can use a word cloud. If that's not enough for you, there's a link here which takes you to lots and lots of other ideas for using word clouds in the classroom. And if you, I'll give you this link in the chat in a minute. If you go into this, each one of these links that you can find in here is an example of a word cloud that I've used with my students in the past, not necessarily online. It's going to take a very long time to load now. So for example, this was way back in 2011, back when using a projector in the classroom seemed like a big thing. I had this word cloud with 18 different phrases that was in the room that I think to try and get my certificate students using a wider range of language. And
I think, Sandy, maybe you have covered your microphone. It's gone a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
And they had a few minutes to find to try and remember all 18 of these phrases that we'd covered in a previous lesson. You'll notice my old ones used a tool called Wordle.net, but that doesn't really work very well anymore. So I would use wordclouds.com now. Yeah, so that's all of the ideas. Has anybody got? Yes, I can see some questions. So JPEG and PNG. PNG is a higher quality image that also takes up more space. Generally, JPEGs are fine. But if you've got a lot of words in a word cloud, a PNG produces like a slightly better quality image. Memory game's good. Something else you can do with a word cloud is cover part of the word cloud with a shape, and the students have to try and remember the words that were underneath it, for example. I think, let me know if you have any other questions. Here's the link for that blog post.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, super. Okay, fantastic. So now we are all going to go and make another cup of tea or coffee, and we are going to be back here at 6:30 for Irina's presentation. Looks like we are back. Fantastic. Before we give Irina a chance to speak, I would like everybody to put their little Zoom hands up if they have used the presentation that she shared in her previous performance here, and the PowerPoint with hidden objects. If you have used it with more than just one age group, please put your little Zoom hands up. No? Yes, Vita, thank you very much. This what, yes, things are coming up. So thank you very much, Irina. We have really, well, speaking for myself, but I think more than just, yes, Sandy. This has changed our way of looking at PowerPoints, basically. Okay, so even more so, we are happy to have Irina here today with us. Over to you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that PowerPoint game that I showed was only my first step. I can show you how I've progressed, and the activities that I'm going to show you are not my intellectual property. I took them from a site. I will show you which one, and it has wonderful, wonderful descriptions, and well, you don't have to be techno savvy to use them, but you still need some perseverance to try and understand what it's all about. There are some adaptations of those activities. By the way, the site is this. Okay, it's called Technologic WordPress. And it has lots and lots of different collections. You can try and check it out now. Not all of them I was able to use for my classes successfully as they are, so I had to adapt them. There were some tweaks that I applied, and I'll be happy to share these as templates as well. So as I go on in my presentation, I'll also ask you to type in the chat box how else you would like to use them, or maybe some other ideas that you can come up with for these particular templates. Let me just turn on the, sorry. Yes, so that is not the original hidden object game. Actually, I was quite surprised to find it there too on this particular site. But this one has a bit more control because in the original presentation, you kind of click and it's all repetitive because I inbuilt the animation there. Here, it's all trigger based. So basically, what do you think it is? You can type. Okay, 1 second. I will just turn on the chat box. No, I can't turn it on. Sorry, I don't know why. Okay.
I can read for you. A dog, a hedgehog, a rat.
Okay.
Albert Einstein. Yes, Alex, love it. Albert Einstein. An old man.
No.
A hamster.
Closer.
A chinchilla. A mouse. Oh, that's a baby. Oh, a hedgehog, a hedgehog.
Yes, so exactly, that's a hedgehog. And so here you have more control. You can just click wherever you want, and depending on how fast you want your students to guess, you can get them to guess it faster. There are templates with more tiles or fewer tiles as you wish. So here, I think the level of difficulty was medium. You work with it just in the same way. You post a picture and then you bring it back. Okay, the other games I'm going to show you are based on my own context. I teach YIGE students, and some of them I tried with my younger primary school students. So I will start with YIGE. So if you teach YIGE, maybe you'll find them useful. If you don't, I'm sure these are applicable for any other context. So this is a board game, and I'm sure there were many different variations. We were shown before, like play with Google Slides so that students have more control, but my students have a lot of different devices, and it's not always possible for them to access all these different slides and sites. So with my YIGE groups, I'm in control, but I can also give the control to them. So what happens is they have 4 counters here. So, and what I do, I just put them all to start, basically. And then I have dice. The dice are essentially just the videos, so loop videos. So for example, Anka, if you can help me and say stop when you want.
Stop.
Okay, so let's say you are green counter, so you move 6 spaces forward. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you land in here. And the word is luck. So you can guess that the board game is based on the vocabulary word building exercise. So for my YIGA students, I don't work too hard with that because we don't have a lot of time. Like before, probably I would have asked them to like make sentences with them. Now we're just brainstorming all the words that they know, like luckily, unluckily, lucky, unlucky, and words like that. If you want the game to proceed faster, you can just use 2 of the dice. So you start them together and then get your students to like say stop. So this one and this one. So for example, the yellow one or the green one. So basically they can go like here. So 10 and 10. So you end here if you are green. I just need to navigate my video as well. Yeah, so here you are. And here you need to make all possible words from the word communicate. And then you end up here and finish. So this is how they all are always going to end up. So green, yellow, blue, and red, yellow, blue, and green, like that. And my students are actually enjoying playing these kind of games. In my opinion, it's more friendly, like user-friendly for them, just because I know that some of them use Zoom on their phones. Some of them use it on their tablet, iPad, computer, so I can't possibly get them to switch between different screens and so on and so forth. So I find it quite useful. And essentially what you do is you type whatever you want in there. You can even type longer sentences. So you can adapt it to your context easily. Okay, the other game is also for YIGA students. So have a look at this board and try to guess what the topic of their essay is going to be. I'm going to flash the pictures very fast, be attentive, and you can if you know the format of the essay, then you can like make a guess about the topic. If not, then you can just write what the essay may be about, like in a couple of words. So you can write the answer in the chat box. I'm going to flash them fast now. Okay, I'll do it again. Look. So what do you think the essay is going to be about? And maybe Anka can read some
Yes, I will. Something good to do with technology, using the internet, communicating, social media, friends, communication, social media, gadgets, friends on social media versus online friends. Okay.
Yeah, very close. Now, look, there are different speed modes. So you've seen fast, this is medium.
Cool.
And this is really slow. The topic was young people prefer internet communication to personal contact.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the topic they're going to write their essay about. This is without choices, but if you want them to choose, we've already seen wheel deciders, but you can build them in your presentation if that's what you want. So, for example, what I did, I just copied pasted some of the ready-made essay topics that I have in my bank, and you just click on spin, and you can stop. So this is your topic. Fast food outlets should be closed. You can organize a debate beforehand, so you can start brainstorming their ideas. So one group can be for, one group can be against that, and then well, you know how we do that. But this just adds a little bit of fun and an element of randomness in there. Let's see what else we've got. Internet is the greatest time waster. Like that, you know, these topics. Another thing you could do with the YIGE, and here for this activity, I inbuilt a timer. So let's start it now, and you see that we have 10 minutes to beat me. So if the students are able to find all the ships in this battleship game, then they win. So they have 10 minutes to do that. Now, how do we do that? So first of all, they name a square. For example, I don't know, tell me one.
A1.
A1. Okay.
Very creative.
Okay, so here is your topic. Household chores are women's work. And in order to reveal what's inside, you need to come up with one argument for or against this. So if you agree, say why. If you disagree, say why. So for example, you think, if you think fast, because your time is running up, you need to say, okay, household chores are women's work because it's a tradition, and you know, like it has been this way since the time immemorial and stuff like that. So you know how these topics work, and let's see. Yay! So you've got the ship, and you managed to reveal one of 3 hidden in there. Let's see where others might have been. So here, for example, sorry. So here are not just essays, it's also 4 letters. Okay, it's not here. Okay, this one. Well, you know that they need to ask 3 questions. So I just included the prompt, like I've already booked my flight to Paris, ask Thomas 3 questions about his flight to Paris, and they need to quickly ask 3 questions about Thomas's flight to Paris. Because we only got like a couple of lessons left with my YIGE group, I think this is perfect for the revision. And I think 10 minutes would be enough for them. So here is another ship hidden here, 1 of 3. Well, this is another game for YIGE. This is a maze. So here, what you need to do is basically you can choose 1 or 2. Choose 1 or 2. Anka?
1.
Okay, let's see. So you need to find 2 differences between these pictures. And it's a speaking exercise, so my students will need to speak. And then I reveal the answer. That's my answer. They compare with what they said. And then let's see if you can go through. And no, sorry, this stone is there, so you can't go through. You need to get to the star. So let's say your next choice is 2. You need to find 2 differences between these pictures. So they speak, I reveal my answer, we compare, and then yay, so you can go through like that. Let's see what other types of questions I have here. So for example, 14, give a brief description of the photos, action, location. For those of you who teach YIGE, they also know it's for task 4 again. So here again they speak, we reveal the answer, and we move on, and yay. Okay, now let's see if you can get to the star. You have 5 options, choose one.
Oh, from which one? 21, 22?
Yeah, 21, 2, 3, 4.
23.
23, okay, let's see. Okay, so you find 2 similarities between these pictures, and they speak, and I reveal the answers. Did they get revealed? Yep. Okay, and no, sorry, you stay in there. Okay, so the right one would be 22. Find 2 similarities again, and yay, and you get to go to the star. Here you click on the star, and the star gets bigger. So with this template, I didn't need to do anything, but let's see like what exactly I did here. there are, I don't know, 26 slides, I think. So what I did, I included the picture. It doesn't have to be a picture, but the main elements here are the answer, the question. You click on the question and you get the answer. So what I, like my input was the picture, the question, and the answer. Well, as you see, I did quite a lot of work with that. And if you're teaching YIGE or if you find this exercise useful, I will share with you. As for this template, the way it is provided on technology, or the site that I gave in the first place, Technologic WordPress, is not very satisfactory for my purposes. It's way too large. Originally, it's like 7 grids by 4, and my students would never be able to finish it. And also, all the words, like, for example, these ones, which I hid, they are all open. So I think it's way too overwhelming. So I hid everything. I added some animation. So now this way, everything is hidden. And I think it works better. And it's also smaller. So I think that works better this way. And that is yet another template that I can provide. So what you basically can do is you well, move it a little bit, you write what you want, and you cover it. All the animation stays in there, stays the same. Okay, let's move on then. This one, I took it as it is. I think it's really successful as a game, and I also use it for YIGE. It's a hangman game, basically. And what we do is, so yellow questions are for, well, for my context, from writing, and green questions are from speaking. So I listen to them, I look at their writing, and I input what they write. And I either write like 3 spaces for 3 mistakes, or there may be also like articles. For example, this is one of my students' essays, like if we save. So what I want them to do is I want them to chat, to write in the private, to write a private message to me. And then I calculate their answers. So I count how many correct answers I got overall. And if it's more than 50%, then they get to keep the ball. If not, then their balloons go, and then ta-da, bye-bye. So the idea is that if they answer yellow questions incorrectly, they just use 1 ball, or they just lose 1 ball. If they answer green questions incorrectly, they lose 2 balls. So it's a bit more motivating for them. So that's all for YIGE. This is another template I adapted for young learners. I basically combined 2 of them. There was another one which I didn't like so much, so I used the same. My students love it. And so here is the color, and you basically say a letter. So for example, you say C. I don't know what color that would be, but okay, so you use a balloon. Okay, B. So you can see if I click, so I click the ones that have been used. If it's incorrect, then I just click on it and it goes red. If it's correct, which is B is correct, it just goes here. I think by now you can guess that it's blue. It's really easy to input like your words in here. So basically what you do is you just write it. And here, what you do is you write these questions in here. So nothing else. It's really, really easy. You can do it like within 5-10 minutes. The other game, if I have for like a couple of seconds, Anka, do I? No?
Yes, yeah. Please.
Okay, so another game that's without changes, is just like my idea. You need to go through the dungeon. So welcome to the dungeon. Now you need a skeleton, and the skeleton has 1 heart. So I was thinking of something more challenging for a group of teachers, but for learners, basically, you can make like categories, like name or like a color or something else. For you, I thought maybe like adverbs and syllables. So I'm sure you can come up with an adverb with 1 syllable. Maybe not. So if you can, you move on. Let's go on. And now there's another skeleton for you, and the skeleton is stronger, has 2 hearts. So in order to beat him, you need to come up with an adverb of which consists of 2 syllables. So I thought of like something quickly, something like that. So you kill them. And then basically at the very end, in order to beat the last skeleton, this one, you have to come up with an adverb which consists of 6 syllables. And there's a site which you can actually look them up. And I found something like inspirationally, enthusiastically, unconditionally. So there are ones. And I thought like for more advanced learners, that would be super useful. Another one is called concentrate, or like Pelmanism. This is also my template because I couldn't find anything like that, which is easy to use. So basically that's from Superminds. Like it's a long red snake. Okay, it's obviously not, and you just hide all. And that's what you do. So it's super easy to do that again. Then I have more things on here. But I think I can just attach my presentation onto Anka. I don't know where I should attach it so people can just have a look. If you're interested in any specific game, I can provide what shall I say, instructions towards how to use it. There are other things that are included, but I think it's self-explanatory if you have a look. So the main resource is this one. Hop on there. There are collections, so just have a look. It has lots of different ideas that you can adapt for language classes, as well as something that you can use for time management and even like keep the board, keep the scoreboard. So for example, like here for offline teaching, you can use it. So for example, like team 3, so here are the scores, and even something like you can play football if you have especially like 2 students maybe in the class, or maybe teams, so you can keep the score here. So basically if you click here, the ball would go here or here, and it's good for classroom management. Yeah, so that's basically it. If you have any questions, then I'm stopping the presentation to have a look what is going on.
There are some questions. Have a look at the chat, please.
Do we get any links?
We are posting, Alexandra. I'm not sure if you are in our groups on Facebook, because this is where we post all the news, shall we say. So if you're not, I can add you, and then basically everything will be there, and the videos will be on YouTube. So
yeah, well, just some questions. Yeah, so again, they adapted templates. Some of them I took as they are. Some of them I had to adapt, not just the language, but also the animation. And if you feel that you could use them like that, then of course, it's just like for me, I wasn't able to, because I could see there was a problem. Okay, yeah. Well, I don't see any like questions for information. Anka, if you can see, maybe you can direct me.
Yeah, just a quick question about the young learners and the alphabet. Did you take it as it was, Arin?
Do you mean the one with
the letters and blue?
No. I put together 2 templates, and I can share this with you.
If you could, yes. Thank you.
Okay, well,
no, that's it, I think. Thank you very much, Irina. Thank you very much for sharing all of these wonderful ideas. And now, Vita, knock knock.
I'm there.
Okay, very good. Well, there we go.
Okay, my gimmick then. Well, my gimmick is called Edpuzzle, creating an interactive video. So basically, I will try to answer the question. Now, just give me a second. Here we go. Yep. Excellent. Yay. So I'm going to try to answer the question: how, why not? Should we use it? Should we not use it? Are we going to like it or not? So basically, the history behind this presentation. I've been using videos a lot, especially with teens. I find that a video is actually a great way to develop their listening skills. I can also use Olga Sergeeva's Tube Quiz Out with them. I can use a video as a context setting tool, as a springboard for discussion. I can take out some grammar or lexis and teach it after the video, before the video. So I can actually do whatever I want with the video. And it's a great tool, and it's motivating for my kids. But that was before we went online, because in my real classroom, I acted as a mediator, as a facilitator. I could stop the video, I could ask them a question, I could point something out, I could draw their attention to something. I had some control over their learning, over the video, over how I was using the video. Well, we tried doing the same thing online, like I would share my screen, I would start the video, but didn't work out because they complained about the quality. They were like, but the quality is so bad. The picture and the sound were like synchronized. The picture was jumping and some frames were skipped, so they hated it. Then we started watching videos on our own, and like it looked like that basically. I'm just going to show you my board with teens. Don't be scared, it's just a collection of lots of videos which we've been doing for over like a month. So here we have all the links and some work which was done with them, like lexical, grammar, some discussion. We built some mind maps. But again, I didn't really like it because to be honest, I don't know what my students were doing when they switched off their cameras and pretended to be watching the video. Like, I don't know if they were playing a computer game. I don't know if they, just listen to it like they would listen to a radio, for example, and not pay attention. And like, I'm not sure they were engaged with the content. And if they were, I'm not sure what the engagement level was. So I started looking for a tool to solve this hiccup. Well, then I met Galina Vishnikova, and she does those meetings with secret guests where any teacher can come and share their ideas. And basically, Galina's meetings serve as a great crowdsourcing platform. And there I heard about H5P. And H5P is an amazing tool. It's marvelous. Because I looked at the platform, I really wanted to show it off like here. So, my boy, it's amazing. It's marvelous. It's visually pleasing. You can see here that they have lots of questions. Lots of notes. Lots of like opportunities. Like, it's a very versatile tool, and you can actually post it into the video, like in the frame. So, I mean, imagine all the possibilities. And all the pictures are taken from their website. Here's the link. You can go there if you want to. But of course, there is a but. Like, I mean, we don't live in an ideal world. And my but is basically this. Can I move it? Nope. When I'm in the presentation mode, I guess not. But okay, it's the cost of the platform. So basically, it costs $57 per month. Yes, and to be honest, it's not a very teacher-friendly price, right? Because, well, we invest into lots of things. We invest into our CPD, into other resources like Twinkle, Teach This, One Stop English, like Zoom, Miro, whatever, like you name it. So I decided that I personally didn't need it that much. And then I'm like, no, I'm not ready to give up. The idea is awesome, so I'm going to continue looking. And Google how to create an interactive video for education. And ta-da! I got a tutorial. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna click, I'm curious. And this is how I found Edpuzzle. I watched a couple of tutorials on YouTube. There are lots of them and they're all very helpful. And then I decided that it was good enough for my purpose. And my purpose was to engage my student with the video and to make sure that they interacted with it and that their level of engagement was deep enough so that some learning could take place. Okay, let's look at the details. So here I came up with some pros and cons to help you with your decision process, decision-making process. And the pros are it's free for educators. Like you don't have to spend a penny on it. It gives you the stats. Like it's not just that your students answer the questions and it's lost somewhere. You get the stats because every student is tied to your classroom. There are two ways for your students to sign up. You can create an open class, and then your students won't have to register, or you can create a closed class, and then your students will have to register. And well, technically, closed classes give you more stats, like statistics, information. But I've tried an open class, and what they gave me was enough. So then they give you several basic types of questions, which is, again, is better than having just one, right? They also give you basic video editing tools, for example, VoiceOver, or you can crop the video using their video editing tools, very easy and intuitive. And then it works with basically a lot of platforms which are well known, like YouTube, Vimeo, TED Talks, National Geographic. So the choice, like the sky is the limit, the choice is limitless. So, and then, well, there are cons, of course. It's simplistic. Like it's very, very simplistic, it's very, very basic. It's not visually stimulating, and you can't make the questions appear in the video. They will appear next to the video. There are only two types of questions, multiple choice and an open-ended question with a text field where your students will have to type. And it works differently on different platforms. So for example, if your students are like mine, well, the two of them are working on a computer, the two of them are working on a tablet, the two of them are working on their phone, and one of those like has an iPhone, another has an Android, and like, I mean, it's crazy. So this app works differently on different platforms, and if they are on a mobile device, they will have to install an app. I didn't know it, like, because like I'm working from a computer, and on my computer, when I was checking the video, everything worked beautifully. In the classroom, they're like, but we need to install an app. So, I mean, we lost some time doing it, but it's manageable, and now you know what to expect. You're prepared. Then let's dive in and have a look at the registration process. So I'm going to go there. It's open, and I'm going to say sign up. So here you need to say that you're a teacher, obviously. And you can sign up with Google. So I'm going to sign up with Google. And I'm going to use my son's credential. Whatever. Talk dot. Yeah, my son is 5, but he has an email. Well, it's 2020, I guess. Okay, can you? Now everybody has seen my son's password. Never mind that. Okay. So one moment, yes, it will log in. Then they will ask you for some details like first name, last name, email, password, referral code. I agree. Create new account. Then they want your school name, whatever. Let's call ourselves, I don't know, Zooming. select a school isn't listed. You can add a new school if you want to. Then let's say, okay, we teach what? We teach language arts. Join school. It wants me to list it. Add a new school. Okay, let's add it. Well, I actually found my school there, so I was just able to choose it. But it doesn't really matter. Like you can add new. You can invent it. Doesn't matter. And this is your account basically. Here you have home, curriculum. Like you can add something here if you want to, like and look at what they offer, because there are some ready-made videos for you to use. Then popular channels, my content, we don't have any. Here you have gradebook, basically your students' grades will be here. Then my classes, so all your classes will be here. Okay, so this is how you sign up for it. Let's go back. And then we are going to make a video, because this is the most important thing. So first you need, basically you need to follow this procedure. You need to find the video, then you can look at the existing content, because if the video is well known, for example, from TED Ed, then there will be something. And you can choose something, like you can borrow other people's videos, it's not a problem, and then you can edit them as well. But for me it's easier to create my own video, because it will be faster than browsing through all the options available. Then you need to select edit. Then you can cut it, crop it, you can do a voiceover. Well, by the way, it doesn't work on Mozilla Firefox, so use a different browser for that, for instance, Opera. And then you can add your questions. Then you need to push save. You need to assign the video to a class, and then look at the statistics if they have done it. So let's try. So we're gonna do it in Opera, because in Opera it worked. So here we go. So for instance, I want to find something about Michelle Obama. Search. Okay, so for instance, this looks like a nice video. I can see that some people have already played with it, so I can choose it. Or I can actually, I can edit it, and I've already started. So here we go. And yes, I cannot see it because of Zoom, sorry. So here I push edit, this button. And if I want to cut it, I use this one. So this option, cut, and I simply drag it here. And my video, and here my video is 59 seconds long now, as opposed to 2 minutes. Then you can do a voiceover. And to do a voiceover, just like it's processing, you need to give it some time. Okay. What happened here? Sorry. Okay. Let's undo. You got the idea, but it's thinking to learn. So start a recording. So basically I press it, and I start talking, yada, 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 whatever, dear class. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to get the credit for this listening, you need to do everything and more. And then like you stop the recording, and here it is. You can listen to it. If you don't like it, you can delete it. The button is here. If you like it, just keep it. And instead of the original soundtrack, your students will be able to hear your voice. It's an option. I mean, why not? Then there are questions, and as I've already said, there are several types of them. The multiple choice question. So here you go. You type your questions here. You type the correct option here. The correct option is always number 1. And then here you can add like, I don't know, the unlimited number of incorrect questions. Then you save it and it's there. You can also move your questions. If, for example, you accidentally place the question somewhere else, you can find them here. They look like little drops, and you can like move it back and forth. Okay, let's say our video is ready. So now we want to actually share it. Yep. So we press finish button, and it's also saved automatically, because sometimes there is a problem that it's too heavy and your browser might shut down. Well, it happened to me once, but all my progress was saved. And then here we have more controls: assign, edit, duplicate, and delete. If you don't want to keep it, you just delete. If you want to say make a copy and play some more with a copy or something, you can duplicate. Then if you want to add, I've forgotten a question, you push edit, and then assign. Well, you get the video to your class. And here you have the list of your classes. Well, I have Gateway B2+. You choose it and say assign. Well, because I mean, it's not a real video, I'm not going to assign it to anybody. I'm not going to do that, but technically this is how you do it. Okay, so what's next? Then we need to learn how to work with classes and how to get the link from the video to your classes. So let's go to my Edpuzzle account. So here you can see my classes. So when I open this page, I will see my current classes, and I can also add a new class. And technically I can integrate it with Google Classroom, but I haven't tried it yet. You might. So create a new class. Let's say, I don't know, Cookie Monster. Okay, a cookie. Then a description, it's optional. Then you need to choose class type, and you can change it later. So it's either classic. If you choose classic, then your students will have to sign up. Or you can choose open, and then your students won't have to sign up. They can just click on the link you give them, and they'll be good to go. And if you let Edpuzzle generate students' nicknames, then the nicknames will be assigned automatically. And I usually unclick it because I want my students to use their real names. And then you create a class. And so then you need to you go to your content. Here you open it. My content, and you choose the video that you would like to assign. You assign it to your class. Here we go. And then now you have here a button, share assignment, and you do this. So assignment link, provide your students with direct access, or you can embed code if you're using an LMS which is compatible with the system. I usually copy a link and I share it with my students either via Miro, like that, or I send them. I send it through Zoom. Okay, so then basically once you've shared the assignment, you will be able to see the progress, and you will be able to see it live, the way how your students move through the video, what they're typing, what kind of questions are they submitting, are the answers correct or incorrect. And for example, here I'll show you what it looks like. So my classes, let's go B2. So I see that here I have 49 new answers. I click on it and I see all my students. Well, the reason I got so many answers is because they couldn't log in on their first time, on their first try, and they had to re-log in. They tried different browsers, they tried different systems. So basically, these are the answers I'm interested in. So let's click on Amalia, for example, and I can see that some answers were correct, like 100 of 100. Then here she skipped it. So here she wrote like, who created the language we hear in the Lord of the Rings? Elvish fans. Create them with my friend sound. So basically you will be able to see everything your student wrote. Basically this is it. Like the problems that I had, well, I had some technical issues because of my students using different devices. So remember that there is a mobile app, and then that the video is technically, well, it's still asynchronous. So there were some fast finishes. You need to come up with a task for them. What I liked that everybody managed in the end, that I was able to track their progress in real time. Like I knew that nobody was cheating. I knew that everybody was watching that video. And then at the end of the class, I asked my students like, okay guys, we've tried something new today. Do you like it? Like I know we had some issues, but do you want to do it again? And the overall feedback was positive. They were willing to do that again. They liked the questions. They liked the way they worked with the video. They interacted with it. So it was okay. We will use it again. And this is the framework which I used. So we started talking about languages, real, not real. I asked them a question, what makes a language? They came up with some ideas. Then I taught the vocabulary. I thought they didn't know. Or you can also integrate the vocabulary as a, like say, multiple choice question into the video. Then I asked the students to watch the video and submit their answers. Then they went into breakout rooms and I gave them a project. They needed to create their own constructed language. I set the time limit because it's very important for projects like that. Otherwise, like, it might take forever. I monitored, helped with the language. Then we had some language feedback on Google Doc. Then we did a presentation language in our book. Then they went back into the breakout rooms to prepare for their presentations. Then there was another language feedback in Google Doc. And then final stage, they presented their languages, and the listeners, the other students, had a task to ask them some follow-up questions. Then, well, I took the notes, like mind map, and then I asked some students to summarize. And then at the end of the session, they gave the feedback on the task, like whether they liked the project or not. And basically, I've only tried it once, like with this particular group of teenagers, but I already have some ideas about how I will be using this tool in the future. First of all, I will be using it for homework, because when I set listening as homework, I usually do it like this. There is a link, and then there is a code, and I like post your score in the comment section below. And I usually get very good scores, like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. But how do I know that the score is real? How do I know that the student actually like watched it and did the task? I don't know that. Well, I hope they did it, but I don't know that. So now I will know it, because I mean, I will have all the stats and all the data on my account. And then assessment, because technically I can send, well, I can upload an audio file through YouTube. Then I can use the link to come up with and integrate some questions into it. And I can send it to my students, and my students can do it. And I can assess their listening and writing, because there are some open-ended questions where they're required to type. And that's rating. And then it might also work with younger learners who can read and type, or if you like ask their parents to help you. So I will be trying it with my primary school students, because we are online, we're separated. Some of the parents don't have printers, so I need to come up with some online tasks which they can do. Yes, if you have any ideas how we can use this tool, please post them into the chat box. I would love to hear them. And this is it. Okay.
Thank you, Zita. Please, yes, please have a look at the chat.
Yes, I looked at the 25 comments. I'm like, oh goodness gracious. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, where do we start? Because I got lost. Irina, thank you. Okay. Thanks a lot. Do you share the videos through Zoom? Well, I work with Miro, like I use this combo, Miro plus Zoom. So I always share my videos through both Miro and Zoom, like chat. Sorry, I have to go. Oh, yes, that's a shame. But Irina, thank you for coming, if you can hear me. Oh, yes, you'll need, yes, thank you, Sandy. Yes, I've thought about it. I will cut out the password, so it will be okay. Yes, okay. More question. Can you please switch on one of the videos just to see how it looks like? Do we have the time for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just then go through the rest of the questions, and after that, I'll show you. Okay. Irina asked Vita, what was the aim of the lesson with the project? Speaking practice, presentation. We were practicing our presenting skills, because at the end they were presenting their projects and using the target structures which were given in the book. So Unit 10 and Unit 3. Thank you for your kind words and wonderful feedback. Thank you. Okay, then I'm gonna show you what the video looks like. So I'm not going to use Michelle Obama, because I mean, I will be erasing it. So, okay, finish content. I'm going to show you the video we worked with. So my content, here we go. Okay, and so you start like this, like you play. Oh, and by the way, there is an option, don't allow skipping. So technically, if you don't unclick this option and it's on automatically, your students can't skip through content. Like they will have to watch everything, which I like. Okay, let's watch it. So here we go, and here we get the first question here. Have you ever heard of Elvish, Dothraki, and Na'vi? What are they? And I'm like, nope, no idea, for instance. Submit. Your students can actually skip the questions. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. Continue.
To many, one of the coolest things about Game of Thrones is that the inhabitants of the Dothraki Sea have their own real language. And Dothraki came hot on the heels of the real language that the Na'vi speak in Avatar, which surely the Na'vi needed when the Klingons in Star Trek have had their own whole language since 1979. And let's not forget the Elvish languages in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings trilogy, especially since that was the official grandfather of the fantasy conlangs. Conlang is short for constructed language. They're more than codes like Pig Latin, and they're not just collections of fabricated slang like the Nadzat lingo that the teen hoodlums in A Clockwork Orange speak.
Okay, here we have another question. The video stops. We need to choose what are conlangs, and the new languages, vocabularies, or phrasebook. Okay, if I'm not sure, I can also rewatch this part. So I'm like, okay, I think they're new languages, submit. And then I continue. And it actually gives me some feedback instantaneously. So yes, it's correct, 100 out of 100. Okay, so I think you got the idea. So Alexander is asking, and here the aim is practicing watching for gist or detail. Well, when we watch for gist, we usually watch the whole video and we got the whole idea, you know, we get the whole idea and then we discuss it. Well, here it's more for details because of the format. But again, it's I mean, if you want them to watch it for gist, just put all the questions at the end of the video, and here you have it. Yep. Okay. Well, basically, I think we don't have any questions, so that was my gimmick. It's not real teaching; it's technology.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you very much for sharing. And the amount of work. That's actually my question. How much time?
Well, I can actually.
I know that it's worth it, and like once the first time is going to be difficult. Obviously, the first time you're going into it.
Okay, it took me 25 minutes to set up the system and figure everything out because I didn't have anybody to show me the ropes. Then I played with another video. Like I first played with a different video, not the conlangs. But then I made conlangs like in 7 or 8 minutes. I actually timed myself. So no, not long at all. But the thing is, I used the video from TED-Ed and they have some ready-made questions. So I used their questions as well. I integrated them. Well, of course, I picked and chose because not everything was appropriate. And I added my own questions as well. I also added some vocabulary questions because I didn't want to spend a lot of time on this pre-teaching stage. I integrated it. And because the video is so long, like, okay, like if the word comes up in, let's say, minute 4, well, I mean, by minute 4, your students might have forgotten about it altogether. So I'm like, okay, they need the word minute 4, so I'm gonna integrate it somewhere close to that time.
Okay.
Yep. Well, use it. It's fun. Seriously, minute.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. And the next presenter, the final presenter, is me, Karam. I'm going to share my, okay, let's see, let's try to time ourselves. So for today, I thought that we are going to talk about using visuals in the classroom, and it's not necessarily with the youngest of learners, and the visuals here will serve one purpose, essentially, just to get even more language out of the kids. And in this presentation, I'm going to share some, again, as always, almost here, all the things that have worked and all the things that we do and that at least I like doing, and hopefully the kids as well. So we are going to go first here to the activity that I called just Clock Juice and Company, although this is not really related, but it reminded me of one of my groups with whom we started to invent new names for objects, basically, just because I was bored, and then it just went on. So this is basically, oopsie, not like this. This is basically how it works. With my students, with my primary students, we have this routine in the beginning of every lesson. Of course, we say how we are, and these are the smileys that I have taken from Vita, I believe. So thank you, Vita. And then basically we include one of the activities that we have been practicing recently. And because these are Superminds too, so the last 2 units are about expressing opinion. Unit 8 is about sports, and then whether you like some things and what you think about them. And then in Unit 8, Unit 9, sorry, builds on that. So basically, I want my students to create the language, and here I have put some ideas, and some of those in the beginning when we did this activity for the first time, they were just the sports. You can see that there is basketball, there's badminton and baseball somewhere here. So they were supposed to ask each other questions. But of course we want more. So I started just throwing things here, just to not really encourage them to use those particular visuals to ask questions, because I know that someone in my group likes Harry Potter, someone likes Lego, etc., etc. Dragon here is for me. But just to suggest different ideas, different areas, different topics that they can be asking questions about. So basically, after the second lesson, nobody was interested in asking questions about cats or pasta, but these were just to symbolize different topics and to help them be creative. And of course, the questions that were created and they were asked were just beautiful. And a follow-up on it was, for example, this one, which is even more basic. I changed the smileys a little bit, and there are just the verbs maybe, because these are the verbs from the unit. And in this, now we focus more on, can we do something? It's a good idea, it's not a good idea, I'm not sure. And you can see just some random, basically, suggestions. Yes, we can talk about sports and food and hobbies, or pets or animals. And this was enough. And on Tuesday or Thursday, Thursday, I think, Max asked Tonya whether can we write to daddy? Oh, this is what he understood. But what he meant to say is, can we write a daddy? Which we clarified later. And then Tonya replied that it's for daddy, it's not a very good idea, but for us, it is a very good idea, she thinks. So it goes in this direction and works very well. And it helps them create crazy questions. The other thing is this one I called Discourse at 5 because I think it's possible, and I think that kids can produce the language and a lot of language, even if they are pre-A1 level. Of course, it's not going to be a lecture on nuclear physics, but it's going to be something that they can talk about. And for that, to serve this purpose and to make it even more feasible, I created, well, a clock, I guess, that I later called the discourse clock. In the real classroom, this is something that we were using in the classroom, but it looked more, it was a poster, essentially. But I figured out that putting it on a clock is even more exciting, and I made the clock somewhere here. I made a real clock. This was fun to be making it, hoping that one day we are going to go back to classroom and we are going to be able to use it. At the moment, we are using it online only. But if you think about it, there are all the topics. At the moment, we are playing My Secret Animal. So this is this one topic, and we need vocabulary for that. The clock helps the kids realize that, of course, there are certain things that they have to mention when they are making a riddle about their secret animal, and they have to talk about the size, the color, the body parts, and then what the animal likes and what the animal can do. So you have to make a full circle, so you have to remember of all the topics. This helps this teacher to step out and let the kids produce. And of course, the language here can be adapted to what they can actually do, because we started with simple things. It's big, it's small, and it's green, or whatever the color it is in the flashcard that we are using. But you can slowly build on that and add body parts, even if only just the number of legs, or the food that the animals like, or the things that they can do. Or I added also in this version, I added also the basic, at least there are only 3, but basic habitats. And of course, if you do it for a few times, after a while, the kids will not need the clock to remember what they are speaking about, and they will be able to produce this mini discourse on elephants or cats or ladybirds, etc., etc. And the advantages, well, there are quite a few, but it is also adaptable to many different topics. So with my students earlier in this year, we were using a similar activity to talk about food, and then it was only the color, again in the flashcards to keep it simple for them, but also whether we eat it or drink it. And then now we also learned that things can be hot and cold. So of course this third element can be easily added to the clock. And also now we are in the unit transport. So we can say that things are big and small, and the color. They also know, thanks to super simple sounds, they can say that things are slow or fast. And then we also learned about noisy and quiet. I'm planning to add where those modes of transport operate, so on the water, in the air, or on the ground. So of course, again, after this, there are like 5 sentences here, right? 5 sentences here, 3 sentences here, and here 5 or 6 if you add the habitats as well. And they are able to produce it even being 5 and even being 3A level. So this is my idea. Another idea for the youngest students is the game that for the youngest students is called Oops, For the older students, we call it Liar, Liar. And visuals here, I put here, we were practicing it with Elmer, the elephant. But there were too many visuals, so I didn't want to put too many on the Miro board, and you can easily see what the idea is with one of the Playway to English activities as well. So basically, there is a story, and if you have worked with Playway to English or with action stories, because we are in Superminds as well, then you know that there is a phrase, there is a picture, and they kind of constitute a story. So here. You say hello to your mom, you're very hungry, your mom shows you some plum, cut open a plum, show the plum to your mom says, eat. So of course, some lesson time has to be invested in kids learning the story, and you introducing the story first, and kids learning what the story is about. But one of the first steps to encouraging kids to tell this story is this oops game, or basically just making mistakes when you are telling it. So of course they have the visuals to support, and they know what's actually happening. So you say hello to your daddy, and this is when they should say oops. So the kids react, they signal that there's been a mistake, and you try to get the correct sentence out of them. And of course, in the beginning, if they are pre-primary students, they might just react with this one word, daddy. But then we hope for a little bit more and for creating the full sentence. So this is how you go through the story. With my older students, we played a game that had the same idea, but it was called Liar, Liar. So after each reading task from the book, whatever that was really, students, they were working in pairs, and student A had to retell the story, of course with mistakes or just in a clumsy way, and student B could follow the story in the book and react, oh, liar, liar, and correct this story, which means that student A was just speaking, even if they didn't quite remember how many people climbed Mount Everest in 1925, etc., etc. They could say something, and student B would go back to the text, read again, and then correct this mistake. So this is oops. Okay, the bottom of the human being, because this is a human being actually with a clock on the head. Right, the bottom of the human being is devoted more to older learner. And the next activity that we'll approach that I'm about to share with you is Thank You Cambridge. Because you know that using visuals is a huge part of preparing students for Cambridge Excellence, for the younger students and for the older students. But I have been always wondering, why keep the good activities for the B2 level only? For example, when they are preparing for FC, they have to look up to pictures and compare to pictures, and get something out of it, and then discussion follows, and the other student reacts, etc., etc. While it is a good activity, and of course we want them to get good results at the exam, then of course this is still a great activity that can be used with the younger students at lower level. The question here only is about selecting pictures and giving students a few pictures to choose from, and coming up with good questions and good interesting visuals as well. So these are some things that at the moment I'm teaching two groups that are A2 level, and one of them are a bit younger, they are younger teenagers, and the other ones are older teenagers. And with younger teenagers, we prepared two books at the end of the course. There are those topics of unusual families and unusual schools, etc., etc. So basically, these are the visuals that we used in class to speak. And we were just looking at the kids. They were working in pairs, and this was the question of choosing the best and the worst family, or the best, the worst place to study. Talking about things that are, for example, not in the picture, that are missing, and what they would like to see in each of those pictures that they have chosen. Would you like to be there? Would you like to go to the school? Would you like to be in this family? Or, for example, something that I really enjoyed doing in class, and it really did work very well, although it's very, very simple and nothing revolutionary. Choose your favorite two pictures, or even better, choose two pictures and you compare those pictures. So of course, in a way, I'm thinking, yes, we're preparing for CAE in another 5 years probably, but they could still do it at the level on the level of A2, and being quite young, they could compare those pictures, and they could say, for example, this one, I never thought about it, but one of my students said that this is the saddest of those pictures because they are walking away, and I don't know what he saw in it and how it was related to his own experience. But I thought, okay, I would have never thought about it. And they were able to guess, and the reasons why they would study or not study in those schools, they were hilarious as well. And for that reason, this activity did work. Okay, and last but not least is something that I did a long time ago, and I decided to dig out and start using again. It just basically happened so that for some time I did not have proper teenagers. That's all my students, apart from 2, were quite young. So now they are growing up a little bit, so I can impose my hobbies on them, basically. And one of them is teaching English through art. All of those lessons, basically, if I had to choose the top 5 most memorable lessons that I have ever taught over all these years, then there would be lessons on Shakespeare and on art. And this is something that I did with a group of teenagers when I had them a few years ago, and it was a whole series of lessons during which I tried to impose art on them. They did survive, and I asked them about their feedback only at the end of the whole series. And out of 10, I think, or how many did I have in this group, 8 of them were very enthusiastic about it. So I thought, okay, good. And because my students are now a bit older, or they are growing up, I decided to start reusing this approach again, and that's what I wanted to share with you in the remaining few minutes. It's basically nothing else but choosing the visuals that you're using in the classroom, and instead of using photographs, which are also exciting, they're beautiful, and especially now that we are online, we can choose and we can have whatever we want, basically. It's basically using art and paintings well, basically in my case, it was not a list of all the must-sees or all the top 10 artists in the world. I was choosing the people that I wanted to see, or paintings that I wanted to see in my classes. And it all started with Scream. And I created a series of lessons, 10 lessons, and each of them had a different angle. And the main aim, basically, of all of them was speaking, essentially. So I'm going to show you basically a quick overview of one of the lessons from this series, because this is what I'm going to be teaching my kids tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and maybe you find it interesting as well. So basically, the topics in this series of lessons, and it was not also, it wasn't even a whole lesson. It was like half an hour, 40-minute slot in our classes. All of them had the same format. There was a context. There was we were working on the description of actually what they could see in those paintings. Then there was a debate in which they could express their views and discuss what they might have been in those pictures and how they saw it and how they felt about it. And in the end, I would always give them a little bit of the story of the actual thing that there is to know about those paintings. So, for example, these that I'm going to show you, they come from the first one in the series, and it was about how to see a city. So, because I chose New York as the context, so we would of course talk about New York and who has been there and what they know about New York, etc. And then there were 2 paintings, and for this particular lesson, I chose 2. One of them is by Frida Kahlo, the other one is Georgia O'Keeffe. 2 beautiful, 2 amazing paintings of New York. And of course, first would be just like what's in the picture. What can you see? But then after this stage, and then, well, you can close up this one, and there are many disturbing things, but it's still okay. I think everybody focuses on the toilet here in the foreground, but it's still okay. So basically, they would discuss this. And then we would talk about other things that were more their own personal interpretation of what they could see. For example, these are just a few ideas. Does this painting show a happy city, a beautiful city, a peaceful city, a scary city, and why? Why do you think so? Do you think in this particular case, the artists, that they like living in New York, and why? Do you like those cities? Why not? And again, you can get so many different answers here. Then we were talking about where would this picture be good? Where could we put it up? In a hospital, at your school, at your home, and then would you like to have it in your house or not? And then again, different reasons. And then at the end, I did tell them a little bit about both paintings, a little bit, just to maybe shed a little bit of light on how it might be read. And then basically there was a follow-up, because of course we had to make it personalized. So we moved into Moscow, and there were 3 different paintings of Moscow, and then we would discuss this as well. Although I think Pimenov was a separate lesson in some other context as well, because it's a lovely painting. And all these lessons were amazing, so that's why I decided to bring them back. And even for my students who at the time were, well, they were like the B2 basically at one point, the group that I did it with first. It was amazing to see that they were actually involved, that they wanted to talk about it, but also from the language production point of view, I could not believe that they actually did remember all this beautiful vocabulary that we did cover, all the fancy adjectives from the higher shelves. And this was the opportunity for them to bring them back and to use them. So these discussions were really, really, really beautiful. So if you haven't tried it, maybe this particular presentation will be maybe a little bit of an incentive to try and start with the paintings that you like, because how else are you going to encourage your students to like them too? Okay, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to check if there are any questions in the chat. Okay. Okay. Do you use these questions? Can we? At the beginning of the lesson, it is Masha, it is a word one, because this is what we were doing. This was a few lessons back. So I basically now in the beginning of the lesson, in the first activity, I let them ask each other. So in the classroom, we were always sitting in a circle. Here they basically go one by one and they ask each other. And depending on how many people, sometimes we start before the lesson actually, because they are already there. So sometimes it's just one question. Last time we had a lot of things to do, so there was only one question, but normally it's like 2 or 3. So they just ask each other all those silly questions. And this time it was, can we? In the few lessons ago, it was, what do you think about? But even in during the lesson on Thursdays, the first person started with can we, but then the discussion went into like, what do you think about it? So that's play with the clock. Yes, Irina, basically the clock in the classroom, the kid would actually be, the child would be actually go around the clock and make sure that this would be also kinesthetic. In the online classroom, this is just like a checklist basically. So I'm pointing at the things to remind them that this is what they should be talking about, not to forget about the number of legs or the color, etc., etc. But the more advanced they get, of course, the less and less they need the actual support and me telling them what they should be talking about. So probably that's the reason why we do. Yes, Miro is a wonderful thing. Okay, incredible with the clock. Okay, clockwise. Okay. Thank you. Can classify the element of clear? Yes, because that's. I mean, I didn't think about it like this, but for example, I also thought I had the privilege of teaching this funny course in the summer. This was for our academic center. So the students, they were preparing for studying abroad essentially, and there was this short course. They would be getting a lot of academic English, and there were also the art and history classes. And this was me, and it took so much time to prepare because there were no material. But oh my God, really the best lessons that I have taught. And I thought, okay, I can do it to my teenagers as well. So it was I think once a month or something like this. It wasn't the whole series of 10 classes. So yeah. Frida Kahlo, the artist Georgia O'Keeffe, yes, and Frida Kahlo. These lessons, well, so originally it was for my teenagers, but you know, now I have those two A2 levels. One of them is teens, the other one is preteens. I'm going to try with both just to see what happens and just to see if my preteens are ready for it or not. If they are not ready, oops, an experiment failed. But I'm curious, and they have become really, really talkative recently. So it would be good to see whether I can channel it and whether they are interested. If it doesn't work, then well, it just doesn't work. Do you always come up? Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, Georgia O'Keeffe. I think there are double E's everywhere. I will put it in the Georgia. Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. If there are no more questions, this was the end of the. Okay, super. Thank you very much. Right. So, are there any general questions? Because now this is the final part of our presentation, which is of our webinar, questions and answers. If there are any questions, there might be some answers as well. Okay. Thank you, Stanley. Thank you, everybody who have been here with us this afternoon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was lovely. Yes. Vita? No, there are no questions. Okay, no questions. Okay. Vita, the final word for today.
For today, well, we are keeping the party going, so stay tuned. We will continue with I'm a Teacher, What's Your Superpower?
Yeah.
We'll be on summer break, so we will not be that active. Like we'll probably move it to say to meeting once a month, but the webinar will go on, and this story will continue, which I'm happy to announce. We're very excited about that.
Okay.
Because this is actually something that was born as a crisis response. But yes, I mean, I love what I'm seeing, what I'm looking at.
Yes.
Thank you for being here with us.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so if there are no more questions, if there are any questions afterwards, of course, you know where to find us. Thank you very much for being here once again. Thank you to all of our presenters, Tatiana, Masha, Sandy, Irina, Vita, and have a lovely evening. And yes, until the next one. Goodbye.